The hell with H&M. I'm the coolest monkey in the jungle. Ah! I said, ah! What the hell was that? What the hell about this tree? I'm tripping. Oh shit! Ain't nobody see that. Ain't nobody see that. I say I done hurt my booty do now. That's what I get for trying to be the king of the damn jungle. Get out my way, you stupid branch. I hate you, branch. It's one of them stinking ass cookers. Now the hell's with all that? Mama ain't raised no little bitty bitch. I was a real man's. At least I think I is. At least I hope I is. No, I gotta be the big man of the house, just like Mama used to say I was when the dad had first walked out to go get them Newport 100 Cadillac cigarettes. And this man ain't never come back. I mean, he ain't never come back for real. Where your ass was at, boy, huh? Where your ass was at? When Mama say you ugly just like your dad and I don't even remember what you look like. Huh? Where your ass was at? Well, Mama used to say, you lie just like your daddy, even though I learned to lie from her. You know, I ain't got time. No, this will never get the job done. Oh yeah, let's put in some work, kids. Got your bitch ass. Oh, you gotta be quicker than that. I'm sick of eating this rotten old canned fruit, man. What I wouldn't do for some meat. I mean, I'll take some deer meat, some rabbit meat, some chicken. Hell, I eat some cow beef anus right now. Hold on. Angus, that's it, Angus. Can't forget that motherfucking G, that's all they need to say by me. Yes, sir. But man, I'm sick of this damn fruit, man. Who that is at my door? Oh, man. Shout out, man. You had, boy, I'm about to cut you up something proper. Like, what the hell wrong with you, man? You better knock it down.
What's up, cuz?
Man, you all right? Where the hell you been at, bro? Yeah, man, I'm good, G. I just been out there on the hunt, you feel me? Yes, sir, big hunt dog. Yes, sir, Ski, big hunt daddy. Yeah. Hey, anyway, look, if you been on the hunt, did you get some meat? Man, I ain't got no damn meat, man. Ain't nothing but goons and monsters out there, bro. I'm trying to be the sole survivor out here with these crazy infectors and stuff. Matter of fact, you know what we need to do? We need to call up Akon and see what the hell he got going on with that sole survivor city over there in Africa. What? Huh? What? Huh? Okay. All right. Anyway, man, like I said, I ain't got no meat, but I do got the spoils of the hunt. You want to see what I got? You want to see what I got in the little sack? Well, I mean, ain't like we got nothing else to do but eat rotten fruit, so you might as well go and show me what you got on the hunt. I'm down. Show me what you got, big dog. Oh, shit. Hey, say less, bro. I got you. Yes, sir, when I say I've been hunting cluckers. Yeah, I mean what I say, G. Yes, sir. Yeah. Big hunt, man. Shout it. You get it, bro? Clickers. Yeah. It's a little jokey joke. Get it? Cause they clickers, like remote clickers. You get it? Get out! Yeah.
Gangland.
Hey, what them games do, what the business is, you already know. It's your country cousin, your country kinfolk. Shout out to KING the King with the games and all that good like that there, little buddy. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to Kingland for Shameland. Cause yeah, buddy, not a dog done set us up with the rope of dope. Okay, dokie for noki, booty hole pokey. With the release of what I gotta say is one of the bigger disappointments in my gaming history. Now, if even only for a moment can I take you back to a simpler time where a man could be a man without fear of unjust persecution, when a joke was just an old little joke, not a salacious attack on a person or a group of people, and when I still have the chance of being a successful content creator if I just had stuck to my guns and do what I do best, being a country douchebag on camera. Yes, June 14, 2013 marked the release of the highly anticipated new franchise from the developers of the seminal Uncharted series. Yes, indeed, little baby. Now, all gamers can admit that the Uncharted series set the precedent for cinematic scope, narrative and visual storytelling, and a super duper high level of production value, the likes of which we had never seen before in our beloved medium. Even though the combat in Uncharted was hot garbage, I'm talking about straight trash doo-doo, just garbage. And by the way, you can let me know down in the comments below whether or not you agree or disagree with the fact that I believe the Uncharted series ushered in a paradigm shift in game production values. And make sure you hit that like button on the way. Thank you. Yet and still, AAA single-player story-based games would never be the same after Uncharted, and with the release of The Last of Us, it only cemented the studio's legacy. Somehow, at that time, The Last of Us was the perfect amalgamation. Look it up, bro. Google is your best friend. Go best friend, that my best friend. Of incredible graphics, incredible acting, a super dense atmosphere of tragedy and despair, and a story that really hits its mark. And even though the gameplay was, pretty much as basic bitch as it could be, somehow it was still paced well for the overall vibe and cinematic scope of the game, which led to the culmination of one of the best games ever made. So how in the hell did we end up with what we got with The Last of Us Part 2? Well, don't you worry about it, little buddy. Your boy Shout is about to fill you in. Yes, I is. Right after I bust this most beautiful B-roll. Kingland. Alright, now before we get into the rest of this video, I just want to let everybody know that there will be some light spoilers ahead. Now, I mainly just covered the first big plot twist in the game, so if you want to go in completely blind, this is not the video for you. But as far as the rest of the video, I don't really go into too much detail about the story. That was not the point of this content here. The point was to let you know whether or not I believe you should purchase this game if it's worth your time and worth your money. But I just want to make sure you were forewarned before we get too deep into the mix now, little buddy. Yes, sir.
He needs some milk.
All right, now let's chop it up about the story of The Last of Us Part 2. The long story of The Last of Us Part 2. Shit. So it's obviously a direct sequel to the first game, even though it takes place some years later, and to give the characters, Ellie and Joel some time to develop from the end of that first story arc. Now that storyline saw them surviving a multitude of ordeals to make a journey from the East Coast to the West Coast, the coast that some would say is the best coast. Yay, yay! Some choices were made, good and bad. Some folks died, good and bad. Some events occurred that will stay with the characters for the rest of their lives, but somehow the characters make it all the way through. I don't know how they did it. It's some real survivors. I'm not gonna give up. I'm a survivor. I'm gonna work harder. Yeah, Beyonce taught me that. Gaming's favorite father-daughter duo eventually found themselves in a healthy, thriving community in spite of the current state of the world. Now it ends up being the typical setup of everything being right with the world. Folks just getting on with their lives until the big bad comes through and drops off a nuclear bomb of severe proportion that blows it all to hell with the quickness. And my guys and my gals, is this particular bomb ever so destructive? Once again, spoilers ahead. But yes, an abrupt move and what I would also describe as forced emotional manipulation for the sake of drama. Everyone's favorite gaming father figure is viciously tortured and murdered directly in front of his surrogate daughter, no less. Jumping off, in my humble opinion, a poorly told, forced tale of revenge and the cost associated with it. Now, if you're not a fan of the first game, it is kind of difficult to explain the stark differences of the story's direction and pacing in comparison. It's hard to express why the motivations and choices that the characters made then felt more natural and sensible in comparison to how these fools are moving now, but I'm gonna give it a shot. The problem I had with part 2 story wasn't necessarily the quality of it. I mean, it's all well written and all well produced and performed. It's mature and dark and it isn't scared to say what it wants to. The characters represent as real people with their own motivations, etc, etc. The problem that I had with the story is that given the state of the game's world and the choices that the characters make are just fucking stupid and senseless. And when I use the word senseless, that's not a reference to the violence on offer in the game. Now, yes, the game is violent. If you never played the original, be prepared, cause shit does indeed go down in the motherfucking trap, baby. No jock needed. But I can't tell you how many reviews of this game pissed me off by acting all appalled at the disturbing nature of the game. Like, y'all rat bastards knew from the jump what this game was gonna be about well before you pressed that start button, so let's not act like this tiger was gonna change his stripes for the sequel. But let me get back to the conversation of the story if you don't mind. The choices that these writers have forced these characters to make are just plain dumb. I mean, dumb. Given that we know that these people are in a constant fight for their survival against the elements, lack of necessities like food and clean water, and factions of psychos that just want to employ the degradation of the society as it stands just to satisfy their human greed, and most of all, the ever-present threat of the cordyceps fungal infected masses of humans that have now turned into zombie-like creatures and monsters with a thirst for nothing but human flesh. The thing that left me the most confused about the story was who in their right mind would brave all of this intentionally just to kill one person in the name of revenge. Even worse so, over the course of several goddamn years, it really comes off as a paper thin plot device that just crumbles over the course of the game. Every time the choice was made by a character to continue their quest for revenge just left your boys like dumbfounded, flabbergasted, and it really makes the story hard to connect with ultimately. I mean, the sacrifices made by these people, which results in the loss of their hard-fought comfort, other human lives, and literal body parts just to confront one individual is a stretch too far for your boy. I can't lie. And a stretch this game really is, cause this is a long game for what's on offer. Even the in-game timeline takes place over the span of weeks, months, almost some years, and you as the player will feel that, and not in a good way. You really struggle like hell in the game to get from point A to point B, almost losing your life several times in the process, but then just teleport back from point B to point A like it's nothing multiple times throughout the experience, which just kind of breaks the heavily grounded realism that's featured in this game. Now, I can appreciate a developer trying to give me value for my money, but at the same time, this shouldn't come at the cost of story pacing and narrative consistency. Now, your boy Shouted ain't the type of individual to base the worth of a game over playtime, but I base my value rating on whether I enjoyed the time with the title for however long the experience ended up being regardless. And part 2 must be going for that goddamn #1 D-Boy of the Year award the way it's stretching out that goddamn dope, baby. It's kind of ridiculous. Not only is the journey long with some unnecessary tangents along the way, add in some flashback scenes that try to add some depth to the cast but fail for the most part, some forced plot lines that try to add some LGBT inclusivity, you know, random sudden character deaths just for the sake of trying to shock the player, and a bunch of opportunities where they could have chosen to wrap up the story, but instead they choose to continue dragging it out with a main character switch that's meant to show you the other side of the revenge tale, but all it really does is force you to play as a character you probably really don't care nothing about. And damn it, man, you just end up with a story where you kind of don't really have any connection to at all. Mix all that in with the weak gameplay loop that I will touch on some more later, and yikes. All I can say for the story overall is that it seems like the accolades and the love for the story of the first game gave Naughty Dog this big ass head with this one. I mean, we gassed them folks up to the point where it feels like they thought they could just get away with any old raggedy story as long as they produced it with the same level of skill and craft that they become known for, that we would just, you know, praise them for the effort, and hell no, homie, you still gotta earn our respect out here in these streets. Basically, where they failed at story-wise is that in the first game, every emotional turn felt natural and earned for the most part. It was like a chef serving you a nice, delicious meal with the hopes that you would enjoy it. Part 2 is more like a chef just throwing a whole plate at you, like, here, take this, eat this, like this, and before you take another bite, I'm gonna sprinkle some salt and some jus on your goddamn spoon and tell you what you should be tasting and how you should be feeling about this meal that I prepared for you. They just didn't try to earn our respect this time because they knew they already had it from the first game, and the ego from Naughty Dog's success just shows its ass the whole entire time throughout the game and the experience. They tried to be shocking and they tried to upset the characters' expectations forcefully rather than writing a story with natural ebbs and flows. Now let me also add that I had no problem with the designs of the characters or their positions in this world. I mean, it's funny to me that people got so uptight about a muscular female, which in my mind actually makes some sense seeing as she was preparing herself for revenge over the course of years. I mean, I get it not being visually to your taste, but what kind of soft-ass individual would take offense personally? I mean, just lol. Y'all funny, and y'all sad, and y'all weak, and y'all soft. Get out of here. Now I'm gonna let you know there's an interesting pair of characters that you come into contact with later in the game that probably would have had a more interesting story to tell. A story that, once again, in my little humble opinion, would have felt more natural and fit more with the survive by any means nature of the game world, but sadly, that's not the story they wanted to tell, and I think we all suffered the more for it. But what about the gameplay and the graphics, big cousin Shouty? We want to know about the gameplay and the graphics. Well, I got you covered, little buddy, no worries, because like I mentioned before, there's not really too much to remark on, as it is as simple as it can get. The general gameplay loop is one of stealth and then murder, death, kill, or, you know, one of a lot of gunplay and murder, death, kill. But in all seriousness though, the gameplay loop isn't bad, it's just basic, and with the length of the game, it can sometimes get a little tiresome. At the start of the game, the combat feels good and solid, especially the melee portion. Now don't get me wrong, you basically just press 2 whole buttons when dealing with the hand-to-hand stuff, but visually and emotionally it feels great for like the first several encounters. When you crack somebody's skull with a pipe or cut into their torso with a machete, you'll have a couple of oh shit moments. I mean, you'll be like, chopper style, chopper style, it's gonna feel motherfucking great, trust me. Even the first few times you sneak up on an enemy and just plain snap their neck in two, there's just this primal level of brutality on display that if you're a fan of that type of stuff like me, I think you'll really enjoy it. As usual, the devs nail the animations, the sounds, the camera work to really make you feel like you're having a physical connection with what's going on in any given scenario. And if you have the ability to allow yourself to succumb to the immersion the game is trying to give, you will feel the tension in the air. I mean, when you're hiding behind cover trying to not to break stuff or just plain trying to get out alive, the gameplay will serve you well. The problem that rears its head is that over the course of the 20-hour plus length of the game, it loses its luster and it's just too simple overall. Now, if you check out my Doom Eternal thoughts about how overcomplicated I felt the mechanics were in that title, I somewhat have the opposite opinion for this one. And that's simply because, and I hate to do this to you, Naughty Dog, but your game's gameplay is kind of ass, like throughout all the games. Crash Bandicoot is not a good feeling platformer, but we take it for what it is and we enjoy the characters in the world at the time. Uncharted, let's be honest, is a bad feeling third-person shooter, but the cinematic flavor and set-piece gameplay changed how AAA single-player games will be approached forever. And The Last of Us Part 1 combined all that talent and craft over the years into an amazing, mature piece of content that will be heralded throughout the industry forever. But it was never the gameplay that earned Naughty Dog the reputation that it has today. I mean, if we can be honest. And it's never been more apparent than it is in Part 2, sadly. Instead of these realistically evolving situations, the game just devolves into a very predictable set of events over and over and over and over. The flow kind of goes some a little bit like this. Cutscene, walk and talk cutscene, exploration scene, fight scene, exploration scene, walk and talk scene, fight scene, and if you're lucky, a set piece moment. And that's basically how the game goes, and they didn't even do a good job of masking the foundation, as it's really fucking easy to tell which gameplay module you're currently in, and I was embarrassed for Naughty Dog in this respect. I mean, I can't count how many times I was like, well, as soon as I cross this invisible threshold, a bunch of enemies are gonna pull up and start a new combat sequence, or if I know if I jump to this ledge, it's gonna break and then put me in all kinds of random danger. Once again, it was just really an insult to my gamer pedigree how telegraphed all these scenarios work. And the one thing, I mean the one thing that Naughty Dog is truly great at is those set piece moments, which while it decent of them are good. They say the best of them for the end game, which makes sense in regards to the structure of the story. But I mean, at that point, you're so ready for the game to be over that it started to have a bittersweet effect on you, boy. Like, basically, my thoughts ended up being like, that was cool, but is the game over yet? Please let this be the end. Not to mention that the final section of the game before the final fight has you dealing with like 4 sections of combat and at least like 25 or 30 enemies back to back after an already long game. I mean, it's a really unnecessary block of the game that could have been cut down to maybe 1 or 2 sections, which would have served its purpose. And after phenomenal games like God of War 2018 and Spider-Man, what's on tap here is really not enough to impress gamers anymore like how it was back on the PS3 generation, especially given the length of the other less interesting gameplay and the unfulfilling storyline. Sorry, not sorry, not at all. My bad. Now, don't get me wrong, the back half of the game, all told, when looking at the scope of everything, was really fantastic and stuck to the dev's greatest attributes, but there was just too much poorly segmented filler content along the way that repeatedly brings down the game's overall experience. Now, the graphics and the sound, etc., I mean, once again, they're all top notch. You won't find better facial animation, cinematography, or captured human performances anywhere. And the lighting engine, when they actually decide to actually fucking use it and not have you stuck in a dark room somewhere, probably pulled the most emotional reaction out of me like no other aspect of the game did. I mean, it's really hard to put into words, but when the sun finally got a chance to shine on your boy, and when the world around me was set ablaze, hell, even in the pitch black with nothing but a torch to light the way, the game created some of the most breathtaking visuals that eventually disappointed me all over again when the game decided it was time for me to artificially fill a press with constant rainstorms and fall. But all right, let's go ahead and wrap this joint up, and you know, we starting off with the pro now. The graphics and sound, they are as fantastic as expected. Naughty Dog has been putting on for a while, and that don't stop here. The quality of the writing and the performances of the actors is top tier, upper echelon type content, and it's the type of stuff that I've always wanted from gaming, and they most definitely deliver. The visceral nature of the combat feels so damn good. I mean, every shot from every gun, every stab of every knife, every blunt force trauma-inducing swing of a weapon, it's all very well executed. There's some really good set-piece moments that'll leave you in awe, and they will remind you why Naughty Dog is considered the top dog among these types of games. And although I didn't cover it in the meat of this video, the level of accessibility options available is impressive, and you can really tailor the game to suit your taste. All right, let's make the world sad with some of the cons. The game is entirely too long for the structure of the gameplay and the thin plot, sad to say. You'll be ready for the game to be over with about halfway through, I promise you. And to speak on the story, in my opinion, it's a bad one. I mean, while it's well written, it just feels like there's a lot of forced oppression and loss rather than a natural evolution of events like the first game had. The gameplay loop's design is very predictable and by the numbers, which betrays the cinematic experience that the game tries to sell you on. While the game's set-piece moments are good, they're not great, and at this point in gaming, we've experienced better overall, especially in a Sony exclusive. But yeah, friends and foes, that pretty much sums up my experience with The Last of Us Part 2. Now, I know a lot of you probably expected this review to be longer, given that it's a Naughty Dog release and it's epic and all that shit, but honestly, man, my review was simple because the game is kind of simple. I mean, yeah, there's a story that does have depth and does have a lot of character arcs and is emotional, but it's not a very well written one. I can't lie, I had more fun with the game called Days Gone, which didn't get the 10 out of 10 critical support like The Last of Us Part 2 did with all the reviewers and everything out there in the gaming industry, which was kind of surprising to me because I felt more of an emotional connection with Days Gone, with the gameplay, with the pacing, with the story, and I was just surprised that I didn't enjoy this game as much as I thought I would. I mean, I don't go to reviewers and take their scores as law, but when you see so many creators saying 10 out of 10, 10 out of 10, but then when the game drops, most of the world's like, nah, bro, this ain't a 10 out of 10. And while it's not a 10 out of 10 in my opinion, it's not a bad game. I would give it maybe like a 7 out of 10. It just really doesn't live up to the bar that the original Last of Us set. And it's kind of disappointing. Like, I felt like there was a lot of hubris that just invaded Naughty Dog systems that allowed them to make a game of this nature. Like, the whole experience overall just feels more like Naughty Dog said, oh, well, yeah, we're the greatest in gaming as far as this type of game, and we can kind of do whatever we want, and they may or may not like it, but they gonna respect it. And no, fam, we don't respect it. Once again, your game is too drawn out for what it is. You didn't really add much to the gameplay mechanics other than I can lay on my stomach and go prone, and I can jump in and climb more now. But besides that, you didn't really do too much to expand the experience, which would be fine if the story supported that lack of development in new gameplay features, and it doesn't. But yeah, once again, if you feel like you're sitting on the fence with The Last of Us Part 2, then I highly recommend you go ahead and pick up what people call a bootleg Last of Us clone, Days Gone. You could get it probably for 20 bucks new, probably even less used right now, and I think you will have more of a great time than you will with this game. Now, would I say never buy The Last of Us Part 2? Would I say never play The Last of Us Part 2? No. I would say pick it up on a sale. It's definitely gonna hit a sale, you know, around the time of the PS5 release and all that good stuff. So just wait till then. Try to avoid the spoilers. Not that I think it will ruin the game any more for you than the game ruins it for itself, but I mean, that's just my advice. That's just what I suggest from one gamer to another. And from one brother to another, you know what you could do to help this brother make it big out here in the city? Well, maybe not big, but it'll make me feel better. You know, you can slide on down to the bottom of this video and hit that like button, drop a comment or two. I greatly appreciate it. I would love to have a conversation with people that may have a differing opinion than what I have on this game. And also, if you truly think I'm doing a good job, man, don't hesitate to share my shit and hit that subscribe button, because you know your boy Shawty would greatly appreciate it, and the King Land would too. But hey man, that's it for this video. Y'all be safe, y'all be good out there, and you already know the motto: games, tech, success. The hell else you need? And I'm out here. King Land.